Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. I'm extremely excited because I'm releasing a new indicator called PNR filter. PNR filter stands for percentile nearest rank, and today I'm going to convince you how powerful it is to incorporate this filter into your trading strategies. Whether you prefer trading with RSI, maybe you're into MFI, CCI, whichever is your entry. If you filter your entry using PNR, if you cherry pick the best entries using this filter, you'll be able to automatically fine tune at what levels you want to enter and at what levels you want to exit. In today's video, you're going to be surprised how easy it is to use PNR filter. I'm going to show you how to connect it to RSI, ADX, and to the price itself. I'll start explaining how it works, how to set it up. And of course, at the end of the video, I'll show you a very special setup using this approach with Bitcoin, using 10x leverage with longs and shorts, 4% per day in the last 200 days with a profit factor of 2, and on shorts 1.8 daily with 1.766 profit factor. Both longs and shorts, they have a stop loss placed, so they are compatible with a 10x leverage. Guys, if you like this type of content, hit the like, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, confirm the notification bell, and the two things that you can do for this channel that are the best, watch the video until the very end, and do not go anywhere without leaving a comment. In this channel, we do TA, and we also analyze, and we also introduce and share many bot setups. So first of all, what is PNR? What does it stand for? So for that, I'm going to start with an example. Let's say you have the price here on the 15-minute, and let's say that your strategy consists in some combinations of EMAs, maybe, or maybe you're using super trend. And just for simplicity, let's assume that your actual deal start condition is triggered every time that the RSI crosses above 30. So you get this entry and you get this entry. You might argue that here, there's not much opportunity. Maybe this was a great opportunity. So some deals are going to go well, some deals are not. On the other hand, you have some situations like this that is a great entry, but the RSI is not below 30 at the moment that is the best time to enter. In fact, it was below 30, but it was below 30 around here. So your entry is not necessarily the best one. Many people do very different things to approach this problem. For example, some people enter when there is a cross above the MA. Some other people might say that this was a bullish divergence and that it started playing out from this candle around here. And yes, I think those things are great as well. But RSI and most oscillators, they tend to have a period where they reach certain range and then another period where they don't reach that range. And as you can see, there are different highs that we are perceiving, and the same happens with the lows. Sometimes you reach constantly these levels, and then very rarely, and then again you reach these levels, and you get the point. Depending on where you are in the market, certain levels that used to be very good then are no longer very good. So wouldn't it be great to have an indicator that is tracking all these things and automatically selecting levels that have high likelihood of getting reached in the next pullback for an entry long, and the same for shorts? So that's where PNR filter comes in. PNR stands for percentile nearest rank. It's tracking all these values of the RSI candle per candle and is registering by frequency how many times certain levels are being reached. And the beauty of this indicator is you can say, I want to know what is the level of RSI that in the past 100 candles, it has been reached only less than 1%. And the same for shorting. And that is extremely useful with oscillators, but it can also be applied to the price. Just stay with me and I'm going to show you how incredible and how many uses this thing can have. RSI moves between 0 and 100. So we could say the values of RSI are normalized by definition, because they never move out of this range. But there are other indicators that are very popular, for example, MACD, that when you look at it the first time, you might think, okay, so it might be great to enter when the MACD line is below 138 and maybe exiting when it's above 166. But if you do that, you're probably going to get wrecked, because these ranges that we are seeing right now in the price action, before they were breached, and by a lot. This guy here gets to 500 and this one gets 230. And again, this one to the downside, almost 500. And 500 is not the maximum. It can go way beyond. And every single asset is different. Every time in the market is different. PNR can really be handy in doing the full analysis to pick for you the best values. None of the values that PNR filter will give you are guaranteed to be the actual bottom. But what you're looking at is at values that are very likely to react with the price. You still have to manage your risk, use stop losses. So let's go back to the RSI and let's incorporate the indicator. This indicator is free, it's open source. You can in fact find all the information on Tradingview. It's called TTP PNR filter. I published it 2 hours ago. Here is a chart of the performance directly in the price without using any oscillator. Very good entries on the Bitcoin daily chart, as you can see. I left some example configuration there, some instructions of each of the parameters, and the full code is shared with you guys. Let's add it to the chart. Search for TTP PNR, this one here at the top. And when you load this indicator, it's going to look like the chart itself, because by default, it's tracking as the source the close price. The first thing that we need to do if we want to do our analysis on a separate indicator is to find the indicator here in the list, selecting the parameter source. I'm going to pick RSI, and immediately it should reflect the same chart as the RSI that is in the chart. Make sure you don't delete the RSI, because this needs to track the external source. If it bothers you, you can collapse it here using this button, and from now we can focus just on this indicator. The first parameter is the length. This is how long in the past we want to do our statistic analysis. I wouldn't recommend using values less than 150 because we need enough information to be able to calculate all the statistics. Also, if you use a value like 10,000 because you want to analyze all the data, the indicator won't work because in the chart there are not 10,000 candles. But for example, I know that with 5,000 it should work on a 15-minute chart, but not on a daily because there are not 10,000 days in the past, at least not for Bitcoin Binance. If you set it with a very high value, the indicator very rarely is going to change. It's going to look like a static band that is just telling you where are the areas that have been reached very rarely. So that takes us to our next parameter. How do we define how rare we want the value to be? The RSI moves between 0 and 100. So if we say, I want the value to be very rare, we are saying that our low is between 0 and that means that we are targeting the area of the RSI that is in the lower end, that has been reached only below 1% in the past 5,000 candles. As you can see, as soon as the RSI here reaches 6, which was one of the lowest value in history for the 1 hour and 4 hour, which happened on the 17th of August 2023, the statistics are automatically adjusting and retaining that now that is the lowest end. In practice, I'm finding much more value using numbers like 300 because what I want is to track the most recent, most likely values, if that makes sense. Now you're going to notice that there are these tiny dots appearing there, and all of that is what we can adjust in the area of the signal. The PNR filter works with this band that looks from green to red, and let's focus on this area here so you can fully understand how it works. The first parameter is the direction. So we are saying that we want the RSI to do a crossover, and here I pick which of the bands. There are two bands. One band is the 0, and in this case here, the bar high is the 1%. So if we say that we want to cross over percentage low, it means that is breaking below the lower band. If we zoom in here, the lower band is getting broken, so we get a signal and another signal and another signal. If I pick crossover on the high, then it will only trigger once the RSI goes above the high band. Now let's say you wanted to do shorts. That's very simple. Our lower band will become something like 99 and our top band 100. So we are sending the band to the top end of the spectrum of the RSI, and we're leaving a gap of 1 between 100 and 99, meaning that this value is only reached 1% of the time in the past 300 candles. So let's look at some early results. For example, here you can see that this is a small pullback here. We're on the 15-minute chart, not very significant. We get another one here of 40, this one 0.9, and this one 1.3. It won't always catch the best. As I mentioned before, you still have to use risk management like with any other strategy. There's no magic strategy that doesn't need risk management. A second example is using it directly with the price. For example, here I have BTC on the daily and I have it set up like this. I'm tracking the last 150 days and I'm looking for the lower percentile band of 0 to 3%. I'm tracking the close, and whenever the price crosses over the percentage high, or you could also use the percentage low, depending on how much risk you want to take. If we focus on the past performance, you're going to find that you have entries around here with 36%. If you're using the low, you're starting to get signals all the way when the band gets broken. If you use percentage high, you're going to get slightly more conservative entries like around here, which is more or less the bottom of that bear market with an upside of immediate 230%. Then you have some pullbacks around here and a bit more upside right before COVID. You have the bottom of the COVID as well there. You can hold for all this period. Then you have the mid bull market with 108. In here, a small upside of 5%, and in here an upside of 34. You get the point, more or less all across the history of Bitcoin, and including the recent price action, we can see that there are some great opportunities just for holding. If I got you excited with the early performance of the indicator, now I'm gonna proceed to show you the bots. You're going to be able to find the link to this particular setup in the description. This backtesting was made with ADB, which is included in the VIP subscription. You can use PNR filter for free. It's open source. You can modify it and backtest it in any free backtester as well, available on Tradingview. So let's focus first on the longs. What are the parameters that I'm using? I'm not gonna do any DCA as I mentioned before. I have 10x leverage and my stop loss is located at 5%. I have 2 deal start conditions and I have 1 exit condition. I'm going to collapse the performance and I'm going to show you now each one of the conditions. First, I have an RSI with the default settings and I have 1 PNR connected to RSI. As you can see here, I'm looking 300 candles back and I'm looking for very rare hits of the RSI, and when it crosses above the higher percentage band, which is this one, then I'm taking a long. But that needs to happen in confluence as well with ADX. I have ADX also collapse right here, but ADX is using the same default settings. I'll show it to you briefly. It's there. And I have a second PNR indicator connected to ADX like this. But in this case, I am configuring it differently. Normally, when I want to take a trade when the trend hasn't started yet, I will say I want the ADX to be below 20, below 30. But that number is always going to change depending on the conditions of the market. And here is where PNR filter indicator becomes really handy because it's capable of doing a similar thing with much better performance. I connected it to ADX in this case, and I'm looking for the band between 0 and 40%, which is different to saying I want an ADX between 0 and 40. If we focus on this ADX right here, you're gonna see that sometimes we're gonna use an ADX of 20, sometimes we're gonna use an ADX of 13, and sometimes we're gonna use 24. And when I was using just an ADX of 30, my performance was half of this. So that is for the entry. Both conditions are here connected to ADB, so both at the same time need to be true. And for the exit, very simple, I'm going to connect PNR with the price. So by default, it comes connected with the close price, but since I'm looking for the highest level that the price can reach. Instead of using the close, I'm going to use the high of the price for my exit long. And I'm only going to look for the past 200 candles and the top 1% reach. If you look at this, I'm reaching these levels. Those are potential take profit levels that look incredible to exit with my strategy. For the shorts, it's very similar. In regards to the bot, we still have the 5%, the 10x, no safety orders. We're still using RSI ADX for the entry. Let's go through the settings. I'm shorting when in the past 300 candles, the RSI is in the top 1 percentile nearest rank. And once the RSI crosses under the percentile high, I'm taking the short. But all of that is again filtered by the ADX between 0 and 40. Since we're doing shorts, the equivalent for my exit will be the last 250 candles, the lower 1 percentile, and in this case, the low of the price. I will leave a link in the description so you can take it from there, tweak it, try it with other assets, and hopefully you can as well take advantage of picking better values using the PNR filter. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.